Hello, my name's James Cogan. In the course of the Australian election campaign, the Socialist Equality Party has fought to break through the conspiracy of silence in the political establishment and the mass media and fight for the unity of the international working class against the dangers of war which are arising from the US Obama administration's pivot to Asia. That is why in this campaign I visited Sri Lanka, speaking at meetings in Colombo and Galle, giving press conferences and visiting free trade zone workers among the most exploited sections of the working class in the region. It's why our National Secretary Nick Beams visited Wellington, New Zealand to address an audience there, and why in the final weeks of the campaign, Jerry White, the presidential candidate of the American Socialist Equality Party in last year's elections, is in Australia to address our final election meetings. As the election draws to a close, the Obama administration and its allies, including the Rudd Labor government, are launching war against Syria in the Middle East. At the same time, the American ruling elite is concentrating its military might into the Asia Pacific, with the aim of blocking China from becoming a potential world political and military rival to US dominance. Behind the backs of the Australian population, the Labor government, with the support of the Liberal opposition and the complicity of the Greens, has provided full backing to a US military build-up. The basing of US Marines in Darwin, agreed to by the Gillard Labor government in 2011, has provided a screen behind which the US military is deploying ever greater numbers of warships and aircraft to Australia's north and west for operations in the Indian Ocean and more broadly in Asia. The build-up in northern and western Australia is part of the Pentagon's air-sea battle plan, which includes the planning for a naval blockade of the sea lanes between the Indian and Pacific Oceans, to strangle China's economy by blocking off its access to essential energy resources and raw materials from the Middle East and from Africa. Australia is far from the only country that has been drawn into the US war preparations. Tensions are growing across the region. The Japanese government, with Washington's backing, is remilitarising and provoking tensions with China over disputed islands. The government of the Philippines, likewise, encouraged by Washington, is pursuing territorial claims in the South China Sea, which is provoking conflicts with Beijing. These flashpoints, to name just a few, could become the spark for a greater conflict. Now, our party explains clearly that war is not inevitable. It can and it must be prevented. Any outbreak of war between the United States and China would risk a nuclear catastrophe. To prevent war, though, what is necessary is an international anti-war movement based on a socialist and internationalist perspective. As in the years before World War I and World War II, wars are not the outcome of politicians' intentions, but the outcome of the competitive struggle between rival capitalist powers for markets, resources, and sources of profit. The only social force that can prevent war, and one which is more powerful than imperialism, is the international working class, organised into a mass revolutionary movement on a world scale. The working class is the only class that has no interest in maintaining either the capitalist system of private ownership and profit production or of the nation-state system. I urge every worker and young person, whether in Sri Lanka, whether in New Zealand, whether in China, the United States or Australia, or anywhere else in the world, to support our campaign. In Australia, we call on workers and youth to vote SEP in the Senate and to join our party, the Socialist Equality Party, the Australian section of the International Committee of the Fourth International.